Making appearances kind of out of order. So these are back to the olden days of Benchmade. The 880 Dark Star and the 886 Blue Star, and these are awesome knives. I'm so glad I have them. So back in 2012, Benchmade realized they had a whole bunch of old new stock in the stock room, just stuff in boxes that never moved. And they said, look, we have all this stuff brand new in boxes. It has just for one reason or another never been shipped to dealers or sold or anything. And it was on the Benchmade forum, I think, is where they announced it. And they had people put together kind of like a lottery wish list. And you submitted it, and they basically picked some winners. You know, people got to pick. I forgot how it worked. Based on how many submissions I got, everybody got a chance to buy so many. So anyway, I got this one brand new in the box, sitting around on the Benchmade shelves for however many years based on that. This one was also brand new in box, and this one's got the first production blade on it, which is pretty cool. From where? Probably Arizona Custom Knives. Elisha designs. Now you can see they're essentially the same knife. I mean, really, same design, slightly different construction. Titanium kind of frame of the knife here, right? This one has aluminum overlays. This one has a G10 overlay. ATS 34 blades. I mean, that's going back a ways for Benchmade. Now, ATS 34 steel is a steel that was kind of invented for the knife industry, and it's a good knife steel. It's not great, it's not super fancy, but it is a good solid knife steel, and it makes a really good knife blade when prepared and treated well. But these things are just classic Benchmade knives, and I love them to death. I have an old Blue Star that is just it was in terrible condition, and I mean, I have the pieces all taken apart, and I've been trying to restore it. The blade is kind of cruddy and everything. I lost track of the project. But these things have been really special to me because they are from way back in Benchmade history. They have never cut anything. They have never done anything. They are just collection queens, and that's how they will sit. So I love these. I realized I showed that entire drawer basically in reverse order because I had the thing in front of me upside down. That's why everything went backwards in numbers. So this one right here is the Pika, the 10402. This is another old red class knife made in Taiwan. This is a knife that you're obviously not going to get now. HK their HK line ended up making a version of this. This is, believe it or not, this is a Benchmade made with 9CR13 steel. Yeah, and with the actual Benchmade logo on it though and everything. You're not going to find it anymore because Benchmade kind of got rid of all of their their Taiwan-made line. You know, the red. So it used to be blue class, black class, and red class. And the red class was their kind of lower end, just sort of. I don't know how you describe it. Blue class was their just all around. Black class was their tactical law enforcement line, and red class was their just hey, here's some knives, here's some low less expensive. That's the only way I can describe it. Here's our cheaper line of knives, and Benchmade made a decision they were going to get rid of the red class of knives because you were going to they didn't want to have a line of knives that could be described as less than anything else. But the Pika was a nice knife. I mean, it still is a nice knife. I mean, it looks. If they didn't tell you that this thing was, well, number one, it looked too much like a Spyderco. It really does have the look of a Spyderco. But besides that, if they didn't tell you it was, made of other stuff, if they didn't say it wasn't made of the same materials as a Griptilian, how you wouldn't really know. So it's a cool knife to have, and it's got the first production stamp on the blade. So I keep it around, obviously. Smooth action. I mean, it's as smooth as anything else they made, but plastic handles, and it really does kind of smack of Spyderco, of Endura, of Delica. It's cool. This is an odd bird to me for the Benchmade lineup. This is made in the USA. It's got one of those 5-digit numbers. This is the 12800. This is the Gaucho. This is an amazing Benchmade knife. I love this one. Limited edition. M4 steel with not Cerakote, but just their black phosphor coating on it. Osborne design, so you know I love it. I forgot the actual purposes. I believe it was an NRA type, you know, thing that they put this out for. I can't remember exactly. I don't. Is this aluminum or is this titanium over there? I don't know. It's got a plastic backspacer, but I love the recurve blade on the Gaucho. This has always been, you know, my goal was always to get another one so I could keep one collection perfect and one that I could carry. I was only able to get this thing secondhand, so it already had some markups on the clip and everything, and one little mark on the blade there. I was not able to find one brand new, unfortunately, but I love the design of this knife. And this is one that you don't see anywhere, ever. And it, you know, now the value of this knife has gone up significantly from when I first got my hands on it. So I'm pretty happy that I have it just in the collection. And it's pretty cool. I had mentioned before about the, you know, you can tell the age of the Benchmade by the butterfly having antennae on it. So one thing I want to point out, so you've got 3 different Benchmade logos. One where the butterfly actually says Bally Song on it, one where the butterfly says Benchmade and has the antenna, and one where it says Benchmade and no antenna. They've changed their logo 3 times. The most modern one is Benchmade with no antenna. The oldest ones have the butterfly with the antenna and says Bally Song. This is obviously the modern Benchmade logo on it. But this knife is, I can't remember how old this goes back to, at least 8 or 10 years. You know, I'm not doing a lot of research. I'm just showing the collection on this one. But I'd say between 2010 and 2012 is where this knife goes to. But I love this knife. I really love it. It's a little small for my hands, actually, but I would EDC this every day if I had another one, just to carry around, just to keep in the collection nice and pretty looking. We're now into the section where we are reaching the model numbers for the automatics. I used to have 2 of these auto atomuses. I gave one to one of my best friends to take on deployment with him, and you know, the thing is, when you give somebody something for a deployment, you don't ask for it back. It is a permanent gift. So I gave it to him for a deployment, and he has carried it on every subsequent deployment ever since. So this is the Benchmade 2750, which kind of works because the 275 is the Atomus and the 2750 is the Auto Atomus. The first time I got my hands on a 2750, I was not prepared for the force of the spring, and it jumped right out of my hand. The reason I got 2 is because when I first ordered it, I got a first production blade. And you know, like I said, some people care about the first production and all that. Some people don't. But I figured I got a first production blade, I'll order another one, you know, just to use. But this thing opens with some force, and if you're not prepared for it, number one, to open you know, an auto axis lock knife, you're already holding it a little bit weird because you can't, you know, you got to have it in a strange position because you're opening with the axis lock. It's not like you got a good firm grip and you're hitting a button. So it can, if you're not prepared, kind of jump right out of your hand. Now I'm used to it and it's not bad, but it is a strong opening knife. It of course has a lock on it. You lock it open or closed. And other than that, you've got all the features you have of the 275, but it does have this lock, which makes it just, I think, a little bit stronger. Some people talk about the failure of the axis lock now and then. Having this lock on it kind of is an extra step that prevents it from, you know, that axis lock from ever failing on you. Do we need an automatic axis lock knife? I don't know, because, you know, axis locks are so quick and efficient anyway, but it's just cool to have. So I've got one of these in the collection still. This is another oldie but goodie. This is the Benchmade 3500, the Mel Pardue. And what's called the Mel Pardue Auto. Now you can see this one, this has a lot of life on it. I refurbished the handle myself. This is, again, Duracoat before I knew about Cerakote. And this is foliage green. I stripped this thing down, I worked on it, I cleaned it, and it is still, even now to this day, you probably can't tell, it has a slight little, the tiniest delay and a little bit of stick before it opens. But this knife came to me in a trade, and it had use on it. I mean, obviously this thing was somebody's EDC, hard use, and everything else carry. This is, I gotta say, one of Benchmade's oldest and longest serving auto knives. It is small, it is efficient. People love this knife, and it's still sold today, I'm pretty sure, this model. It took, I mean, you know, taking apart an automatic knife and warranty voiding, by the way, doing that, but, you know, taking it apart, cleaning it, refurbishing it, putting it together with the spring just right, it's not a very easy task, but it's pretty cool to get in there, clean it up, get it into, I mean, this thing was sticky like somebody had poured molasses in it. It was like, opening it was like, literally like that when I first got my hands on it. But I knew I could get it all cleaned up. So I like it now. And clearly, you know, the value is more in the sentimentalness of the time and work that I put into it to get it to be a nice operational piece. Then, I mean, I could probably, well, I couldn't because I voided the warranty, now that I think about it. But I was going to say I could send it to Benchmade and have them replace the blade. But it's just cool to have in the collection, you know, as one of Benchmade's longest, oldest standing auto knives. You've got to have an Infidel, a 3300 Infidel, if you have a collection of Benchmade autos. This happens to be the Law Enforcement Military Special Edition. Now, this particular model is not sold anymore. And they put out this. They put out the, I'll get to it in a minute because I can't think of it. But I have it and I'll show it to you. And they put out the Presidio special edition as well in this color scheme. This is Benchmade's, I believe, first OTF model, and they still sell it today among the other ones. To me, this thing, though, I mean, the only utility this thing has is for sticking people. It's not a very useful utility knife. It's not. But it is still cool to have. I find this to be actually slower to use than most other Benchmade knives. You have to hit a certain point of resistance and then past it to activate the spring on this knife. And you know what? I can just deploy a manual axis lock knife faster than I can with this. But this, of course, has a certain, there is a certain, I don't know, presentation when you use a knife like this, you know? If you're trying to make a statement. But it is cool to have. It's definitely cool to have. And I'm glad I have it. It's a D2 blade. And it is highly illegal in many places. Number one, because it is an automatic or a switchblade. Number two, because it is a double-edged dagger blade. If not one of those, both of those factors in some places. But it is really cool just to have. Now remember, I'm also going to point this out. Local knife laws very much differentiate in most places between owning in a collection and carrying for legality purposes as well. So I'm not going to get into individual light knife laws. I did that. I talked about that in my, the difference between auto, spring assist, and manual knife video. You got to look up your knife laws and know, the difference between owning, displaying, and carrying. Because in a lot of places they're very different. But this is just cool to have, and so I have it. I'm going to show these two together, the 9050 and the 9051, and this is what I was talking about, the 9051 Special Edition Military Law Enforcement. I have had a couple of these issued to me during my time. The 9050 was actually Air Force issued to aircrew for a while because it is a very efficient knife. The 9051 has taken over. Now, my first 9050 was I lent to somebody and it never came back. And because drama with a stupid airman who I lent it to him, and then they said, well, you gave it to me and I'm not giving it back, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're kidding. You're going to pull this crap, right? Okay, whatever. Whatever. Yeah, some people are idiots. But I've had 2 of these. This is my 3rd one, and this one I ended up getting it, and then I got other knives, and I didn't really feel the need to use this one. But this actually has a national stock number. This is a military issue knife, as well as commercially available. And then the 9051 came along and replaced it. Now, as I said, this is the Law Enforcement Military Special Edition. And what makes a special edition? It's in green. But this is slightly beefier handle. They increased the size and availability of the button. Basically, they included a glass breaker over there, and they gave you clip mobility. So they just gave you some different features, and the blade's a little bit bigger too, if you take a look. But it's this is the natural evolution of the 9050, and the spring a little more forceful. But you can see it's very family lines in the knife there. And I've never been issued the 9051, but I bought this one because I wanted the the Law Enforcement Military Edition to go with my that. I'm just blanking out with the Infidel, and I'm upset that I never got my hands on the Auto Presidio to round out the collection there. But I know a bunch of guys that have been issued this one, and they love this one. Again, though, I'll say, is this really any faster or more convenient than, an axis lock knife that you can open single-handed? I personally think that in modern days, the engineering of folding knives is to the point where an auto opener is really not that much faster, or any faster at all, than any folding knives. But these are 2 great. I mean, if you're looking for an automatic knife, these are very tough, very rugged, aluminum frame, very secure. Both lock open and they lock closed, to avoid any accidents. I don't think they sell the 9050 anymore, but I know they still sell the 9051, and it also comes in a Tonto blade if you're into that. I don't know what they are, but I love having these. I never carry them because I don't feel the need to, but I love having these ones in my collection. Especially this one reminds me of a lot of good days military-wise. The 9130 is the Auto Striker. So remember I showed you the Nitrous Striker? This is the drop point version of the automatic version of that knife. These were issued in the military, but not to me. I grabbed this one because I just wanted to check it out, and I like it. However, I still say that there's really no reason you need the automatic version if you have the Nitrous Spring Assist is very, very good. And this is just nice to have, but is it any better than the Spring Assist? I don't know. Swaps out your G10 scales and your steel frame for a full aluminum handle and your button. These shallower buttons can be a little tricky to operate if you've got some big thick gloves on. But I mean, it is a nice blade, 154 cm steel, which was the Benchmade standard back then, and it still is for a lot of knives, but they're moving to like S30V as their standard for the modern days. It's just a nice, simple automatic knife, not too heavy, and very easy, very simple. Got to keep it clean though, because as you see, no flow-through design. A lot of their automatics are like that, so got to make sure you're keeping that clean and not getting it all junked up. But there it is. And the last one in the collection, back to the Seibert family, and I just recently talked about this one. The gold class, the small, the less expensive of the gold class of this version. This is the dual action, the MLK, the 7505. Now there was 2 versions of this. There was a much fancier version, and then there's this one. And I still contend that this should not have been a gold class knife. This should have been a full production version. The gold class, when you take a look at one of my older video talking about this one, this looks just like the 755, but bigger. Why this particularly was a gold class knife, I don't know. I understand why the 7505-1 was. It was much fancier, much different material, better materials and everything. I think it was just because of the price they wanted to charge for this. They felt like they couldn't justify it without calling it a gold class knife. It has the dual action where once it's set, you can open manually, or you can use this little push up feature to open it automatic. Why you need that, I don't know. Do you need that? It's really cool, but very fast, very smooth to open. With the manual opening of the thumb studs, I don't know why you need, and it's not for me to say why anybody needs what they need. It's all your personal preference. I personally have no idea why anybody would use one over the other, but it is, to me, this is a much better version of the 755. I much more prefer this. And even though it's a gold class knife, I said once upon a time I would never carry a gold class, because if you're going to spend that kind of money on a knife, you better keep it nice and pretty. And then I went and started buying hinderers, and that went out the window. I have carried this, and I would carry this because it feels comfortable, it feels good, it's a great size for me, and it is impeccable steel. M390 titanium G10. It's got great materials on it, and it is a very solid feeling knife. I really like this knife. The only thing I don't like about it is that I can't move the clip for tip-up carry. But it is... I wish I could have it... I wish I could, not have a spring in there at all, actually. But, what a great knife. I really like this one. I really, really like this one. And, I wish that it wasn't so expensive. I have a lot of thoughts about this knife, and I've expressed them on more than one video. I think that maybe perhaps this thing was an attempt to compete with the hinderer market a little bit. Maybe I don't know. I don't think it should have been as expensive as it was. I think yeah, the price could be justified. You can, but I think they could have knocked 100, 150 off the price and still done very well. I think they could have sold a lot more if they did that. It was a limited, unlimited run, and we're not even going to get into that ridiculous verbiage right now. But, the other one, there were only so many made. The other version, it was a very limited run. And they should have just made that the gold class and made this a production version, a production knife, and let that be that. But this is it. This is the last Benchmade I own right now. There was a triage, a 915 triage that I gave to one of my graduating students, so they would have a decent knife when they were flying. I can think of an Aries that I gave to somebody for a birthday present. I can think of 4 more off the top of my head that I gave away that I used to have in my Benchmade collection. And I would, they're like I said, I haven't bought a brand new Benchmade in a long time for a few different reasons, a handful of reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. There's a couple I would like to check out, but I don't know when or if I'm going to get around to that. But the thing about Benchmade is, I know some people that work there. And I know that there's been some interesting political goings-ons with the company and the owner. And if you talk to some people that work there, and I know a couple people that actually work there. The people that work there are very patriotic American people. The actual workers on the factory floor, they open carry on the factory floor. Some of them, and I would encourage you guys. I know that there has been some stupid incidents in recent history with the Benchmade company, and I would ask you to not lump the day-to-day factory workers that produce the knives with the people that own and run the company, and to remember that. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I might pick up some new ones in the future to look at. But, even if I did, who knows when they'd actually get to me to look at, to see, and review, because the way that the system is going with packages and everything, I have not had a package sent to me, or a package I've sent to anybody arrive on time in the last 2 months at all. So there's that. But I hope you guys enjoyed a little look into this part of the collection. I know that people have been really requesting a look into the collection for a while. And, you know, maybe we'll do Spyderco next. I don't know. I know somebody had requested to look at the Kubies. We'll do that too. In the meantime, please remember that you guys are all absolutely awesome. I really appreciate every single one of you for making this channel the thing that it is, because all I do is make videos. It is all of you guys watching that make a channel a channel. And I will be back again as soon as I can with some good stuff for y'all to watch.